This is Carrie Hummingbird, and this is Soul Nectar Show. Welcome to the show. And this is that show that talks about all things indescribable, that which is bigger than us, the creator, our higher self, our soul, and all things that are in the deep end of the ocean. That's the stuff I love to talk about. I love to play there. And so welcome to the show. And today we have a delightful guest, Dean Griffiths. Welcome, Dean.
Hi,
Hi.
hi,
That's
hi.
probably
There we
about
go.
the most high level thing you're going to hear from him on this conversation. Because I've already had a chat with Dean. And today, Carrie Hummingbird again will be the guinea pig. Okay, so Dean Griffiths is known as the Soul Whisperer. He is a gifted intuitive coach who has been empowering clients to live a life of purpose for over 10 years through his Inner Journey coaching program, and works with one simple philosophy: your problem is not your problem. Your attitude about your problem is your problem. Boy, can I agree with that more than anything else. It's awesome. Dean is also the founder of Energy Fusion, based on over 20 years of experience in health and well-being industry. Energy Fusion is a content creation company that generates engaging material designed to empower users to take charge of their own health. So welcome, Dean.
Well, thank you. Lovely introduction.
Yeah. So Dean and I had a conversation because I know I told you guys that I interview everybody. I pre-interview everybody just to make sure that they're going to be, good for my audience. I want you guys to be enthused and intrigued every time we have a broadcast. And the first conversation that Dean and I had was like right after my dad passed. I think you were the first person I spoke to
That's
after he
true, yeah.
passed. Whew, that was a conversation.
But perfect timing.
Absolutely. So, and every time I get on the phone with Dean, every time I get one of these, like just even before we started this broadcast, I've usually got something that needs help with. And Dean is giving me coaching like right before the call. So thank you, Dean, for that. He's that kind of person, like you'll find out. So how did you get that way? I mean, how did you become, I'm sure you didn't just be born and then step into Soul Whisperer. So tell us a little bit about your journey to being this that you are now.
It's funny because I think anybody who does this kind of work, um, they can always look back on their life and see how they got to that point. But while you're going through the journey, you don't actually understand it. I can look back and I was always the person that my friends would go to if they had a problem, not realizing actually it was just my energy. They felt comfortable, and that's my thing, is that I create a space for people to let go. And that's why when we have these conversations, before we even get to this conversation, I just allow that space to open so that people can spill it out and get rid of whatever they're holding on to. But for me, it wasn't. I wasn't aware of it for probably the first 10 years of my career, because I was more about the physical body. So I was a personal trainer. I was doing sports rehab. I was working with the physical body. It wasn't until I got into holistic health that I realized actually there's more going on. There's emotions involved here. So when I trained in Reiki, I started getting these kind of visualizations in my head of a person's body. So almost like an X-ray vision of a person's body. And that's when I kind of started realizing actually I'm feeling something about people. And again, if I look back over my life, I can see that I was doing it my whole life anyway. But now I was conscious of it. So over the years, and what happened is, and this is really weird because I don't know how it started. I was running a workshop on posture, and in the break, I decided to read people's chakras. Now, I knew very little about chakras, and I still do, because I think it's important not to know too much if you want to kind of really tap into the wisdom part of it. So I was doing these reading on the chakra, and people were like, "Wow, that's exactly what's going on with me," and that's basically how it started. So basically, what I've been doing over the years, I've been nurturing that wisdom that's coming through me and just trusting whatever information being passed on to me. Now, what's interesting is that initially the information was, and it's always been good, but the information was way too early. So I did a reading for a friend in Canada, and he looks after me, at me afterwards and goes, "I don't get it." I go, "Okay, fine, don't worry." I said, "Look, I just wanted to share the information. How you use it is up to you." And then about 3 or 4 years later, he sends me an email. He goes, "I got it." I said, "Okay, great." I said, "Okay, guides, this is really cool. but we need to make the information relevant to the person right now. What's going on with them right now, not something that's going to happen in the future. That's really nice, but it's not going to help them get through whatever they're going through. So over the years, I've kind of refined it, and now we can really hone into what's happening now or what's about to happen in someone's life and help them kind of traverse that in easier ways. So if I feel that something big's going to happen in their life, I normally come into their life just at the right point. Like, this our conversation when we first spoke, it's just the right timing that I seem to drop into people's lives to help them through whatever they're going through. So for me, it's a continuous journey. This will carry on for I don't know for how long. It's always changing. I'm just surrendering it to it more and more. That's the beauty of what I do.
Wow, I love so many thoughts came through my head as you were saying all of that. Wow, so many juicy topics to explore. I love the time topic because I've always been ahead of schedule. Like if there's something astrologically going on and it's going to hit, it hits me like a week before it hits everybody else.
I'm exactly the same.
I'm ahead of it. Like I've already experienced it, and then people are experiencing it. I'm like, that happened last week. Like I don't know what you're talking about, but they'll be going through it now. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, that happens for you
Yeah,
too.
but that's because we're tuned into the universal energy. So we're more attuned to when things are shifting. So we can feel it a lot. When you're sensitive, you can feel these shifts a lot sooner than most people because they're just going back the normal day. You're tuned into it. It's almost like a radio station. You're tuned into it on a daily basis. So you're hearing that news before everybody else hears that news.
It's kind of like 2012, huge planetary shift, right? And me in my completely unawakened state in 2011, summer of, went, oh, that's the end of the rope. It's time to move on. Like I got the message a whole year early, like get on your path now.
Yep.
And I did. I started the journey. I also really love this idea of being so open to not knowing and filling in the details. I really enjoy what you said about the chakras and about not really learning in advance what they were, but letting yourself intuitively explore the chakras. Because I found the same thing, like my energy medicine school didn't really train us. They just gave us basics, like the root chakra is about security and stability, and the crown chakra is about opening to spirit, but they didn't, that was about it, and they just said, here's this crystal, clear it out, and you use a rattle, and that's what you do. And so we practice. But what I learned is as I went along and I was working on clients for like the last 5 years, is like, wow, like I would just start noticing that each chakra is a database. Like it's an actual database that stores certain types of information. And not only that, but that people had the same kinds of information or patterns running through their chakras that I was clearing. So like I was starting to find, getting people, for a while there, I was getting people, women who needed a lot of ancestral patterns cleared around being a woman and standing in their own power. Like I was clearing all that out of their sacral, out of their sacral chakra, their second chakra. And of course I realized at some point, I'm like, some of this is for me.
This is my stuff as well, right?
Yeah, like this is me as well. Like to some degree, I'm a few steps ahead. I've cleared some of this, but there's always like some nugget in the healing session where I'm like, that completely applies to me. And most of the time I was able to handle it and kind of like smile up at spirit, like, okay, like you want me to clear this. A couple times there was only like 1 or 2 times that I just got like angry, like it hit me by surprise, the thing that they wanted me to work on. Like it was so sneaky the way they brought it in. And it was like, and I'm channeling for the client, I'm channeling for them, like what they need to work on. And then I go, that's mine. And I'm like, I don't want to work on that. Actually, I had one of the guys tell me that the reason why the healing was taking so long is because I was resisting the healing for myself.
Actually, that sounds about right, knowing you as long as I have so far, yeah.
Because I do, like I would say that you seem much more like you're able to go with the flow. I'm a manifester. So I have the design type that wants to manifest things.
Right.
And, so yeah, it's hard letting go. So, and I know that's one of your specialties is letting go and letting go of control.
Yeah, which is not easy. I'm a fire sign, so I'm a Leo, so there is that element of me that wants to control it. But it's especially when I'm doing my work, it's really trying to let go and just really trust, which is not always easy. But I think I definitely find it easier now than I did before. But like I said, I think all this stuff is always a process that we're going to continually go through for the rest of our lives anyway.
Yeah, it's layers and layers of stuff and surrender. I started trying to assist this process because I know that I like to make up stories. And that's how I manifest actually is I reinvent myself by changing the story. And I'm attached to that. I like that thing. So I know that. So every night at my altar, I like take off the cloak of who I think I am today and just put it in a sacred fire and go, okay, I'm going to surrender it so that I'm not in the way of whatever you are trying to send me.
I really like that actually. That's a great little technique to use. Um, I do a thing where I take off. Literally, I'm taking off my old skin and letting go of that. It's almost like a snake shedding its skin. And go, I'm letting go of that older version of me to allow a new version of me to grow through.
But I think in that reinvention process, you have to be able to switch from the content from this being to the context. Like you've got to be able to switch from the actor in the play to the director of the play. Like you can't be so worried about this particular role.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because I've just been finished reading The Way of the Warrior
Oh,
by I forget his name, but that's the thing is it's letting go of these roles. They're just titles, right? It's just knowing you're still the same person. It's how you change. It's always interesting how people change themselves depending on what title they give themselves. So for me, it's can you be the same person regardless of the title that you've been given or you give yourself? And this is always things that fascinate me with people who go into some kind of power of a management or leadership, how they change as a person. And I did the same thing when I was working on the cruise ships. I was managing a spa, and this first time of being a manager, all of a sudden I had this power trip, and I learned very quickly that that's not going to work for me.
well, what
It was good. It
happened?
was great. So I had a small team of girls who were working for me. Two of the girls who were working for me, they left the ship. They realized actually they didn't want to work with me. So it was good. It was a great
Wow, but
lesson
you're
for
such a
me.
great guy. So you must have not been you at all.
Well, yeah, but this is the beauty about learning about ourselves is that we can go that is part of who I am. But it's a part that I needed to express to actually see it. Now I don't need to express it. If I need it at times, maybe, but not really. So for me, I went, okay, fine. So I got moved to another ship, did really well, and they brought me actually back to the same ship, and all of a sudden I did amazing. I just realized is that no, to be a manager, to be a leader, I work for them. They don't work for me, and that was my big
Oh.
shift. So that's the thing. It's amazing to watch people transform when something like that happens in their life. How they switch to this different person. It's still the same person, but they're now working in a different mode. So that's what I learned for myself is that actually we do change as a person as we go through these experiences, but at the core of it, you're still the same person. But how much do you detract from that core person to be someone that you're not really, but you're trying to be? So that's where the ego and the soul kind of collide a little bit. The soul's going, no, we're fine. Just keep it nice and straight. The ego's going, no, but come on, let's have some fun. We're down the leader, now the manager. Let's do something crazy with it. So it's find that balance always between the two.
That
You know,
is,
I
I
was I
love that
was
description.
I was 25, 26 at the time, so I was young. So it was for me, it was like, why not? I'm glad I really had such a great time doing it because I was having fun with friends at the same time. So for me, from my perspective, I wasn't doing anything wrong, but I could look back and go, okay, I can see how it didn't work for other people, and that's the beauty of learning. in life. That's why I say to people, I'd rather people mess up. I've got two daughters who are 12 and 13. I would say to them, mess up, do things as wrong as much as possible now, because you'll learn so much by doing it wrong than trying to get it right all the time. And that's the beauty of life. When people go back, these mistakes I made in life, I go, no, they weren't mistakes. They were lessons that you were trying to learn. If you see it from that perspective, and all of a sudden it changes how you're living your life, you go, I'm just learning when I make these mistakes. We all make mistakes, right? That's just part. So for me, when I'm doing my work, that's where I've let go. Is I'm not trying to be something different. I'm just going to be myself and let that natural part of myself flow through me.
Absolutely, absolutely. I also encourage my son to both of my sons to make mistakes. My older son, he definitely had a lot of challenges in my marriage to his dad, because he's a lot like me, right? So everything that I went through, he went through, which is, you notice that I'm not with my ex-husband. My younger son's a little bit more earthy, so he gets along, he can kind of move between, and he does all right. But my older son really needed to make mistakes. Like his whole life we've been like looking at him like, oh, he's always on the edge of mistakes. He's like the one that's so. Finally, I just told him, I said, you know what? Do what you're going to do. I'm going to sit back and watch you, and you figure it out. You figure out what's going to work and what's not going to work. And he did that for a while. And, he made some choices that I was like, oh, I don't think that's a good idea at all. He went and did it. And eventually he ended up, having it. I did have to step in at one point and put him in some guidance, like a, a rehab program after school.
Okay.
It's like, okay, let's go. Now we're going to go explore this, because I do have to interject. It's kind of like the angel, like comes down and just rips you, okay, another chance, you're not going to.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
But he learned so much from that. And what was great about it is about halfway through, because it was a 12-week program. So imagine 3 days a week after school for 12 weeks. Oh my goodness. He said to me, Mom, those other kids that are in here, because of course he was the only kid his mom made him come, like everybody else, police made them come. Here's my kid. He goes, Mom, those kids they just lie. He's like, they just say whatever the person wants them to say. And then they go, and right outside the door, they're already doing it again. He's like, I can't believe that. And he goes, I love this counselor guy. Like, he's amazing. He's so smart. He's so like, everything he shares is so incredible. Like, and they don't hear any of it. He said, but I think this guy's the best, so like, it was so interesting to watch him really see like the different tracks he could take in life. And he saw it all for himself, and then he made the choice. And now he's like, years later, he's doing great. He manages all his own grades. He gets great grades. He's a very inspired kid. He's got lots of friends. He's got a great girlfriend right now, and he's just so happy. He's so loving. He's amazing. And he started going with me on spiritual retreat. And my people were like, your son, how did you get your son to come? I'm like, he wants to come. He wants to heal his past lives. And they're like, what? Who does that at 18? I'm like, my son does. But it's because I let him be, I told him, I know you are an angelic, incredible old soul, and you are going to figure this out, and you don't need me to interject, except for, the angel part.
Well, no, but that's it. You're giving them the space to go through the experiences, but you're supporting them and then jumping in when you feel
it's keeping an eye.
Yeah, exactly.
But most people are hover parents. They're like, trying to control everything. Back to the control issue.
Yeah, it's exactly. So for me, it's going, give them that space to do it, but just knowing that, because and this is what I learned as a child, and I think most people would agree, is that you realize I'm not going to tell my parents anything, because they're not going to understand it. Even though they've been through their own experience when they were younger, I want to give my girls the space to go, it doesn't matter how bad it is, I'm not going to tell you off. I may give you a different advice, say, look, I don't think you did it the right way, but I want to give you that space to go and experience life to extreme. Let's take it, if they're going to go and kill someone, we've got a whole different story happening. But, in the context of normal life, we all mess up, and, we're still messing up in life now. So it's kind of going, how can I tell my own children not to mess up if I'm still messing up myself? That's where I've got to look at it also.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So, I love this idea of giving ourselves permission, because I think I shared with you that I studied with Heather Ashamara, who's a student of Don Miguel Ruiz of the Four
Yeah.
Agreements, right? And that's all about this realization that you've been domesticated. Your brain has been domesticated to think life is a certain way, and that has put a bunch of filters over your eyes so that you actually perceive life that way. But if you go halfway around the world, there's somebody perceiving life completely differently than you, and they're absolutely convinced that it's right. So when you start to realize that, you go, whoa, like what do I think that's not true that I could be completely different about?
Yeah, it's being able to let go of your perspective. Go, I believe that now, but you know what? That's just what I believe now. And it's for me the other thing which is really important is and it's very big in the spiritual and personal development world is this difference between positivity and negativity. Okay, for me there's two sides of the same coin. We're just trying to say, well, this one's better, this one's worse, and going, no, you need both to experience life. We need dark and light to go through the day and through the night. So we need the balance of the two. So when people have anger, frustration, whatever their negative emotions are, go enjoy them because they're probably teaching you more than the love and joy are. Because the love and joy, you like those, but you don't like the anger and frustration. Okay? Spend more time with the anger and frustration because you'll get to learn to like it more because you realize when you're angry or frustrated, it's because there's a reason for it. The same reason why you're happy is you can always know why you're happy. You go, but why are you angry? And then you realize actually I don't actually need to be angry. I'm being angry because of an old pattern that I'm still holding on to. So for me, it's always important to kind of not differentiate between fear and love, good or bad. It's go same thing. It's how you want to see it, right? Like I said, one person can see something as positive, and so that someone else can see that same thing as negative. It's how you perceive it. So don't hold on to any perception. Just go, this is how I see it right now. But for me, I always say that if someone shows me a better perspective and it feels right to me, I'll take that perspective.
I remember
Because I
you
go,
saying that.
yeah, it's just realizing is that our thoughts are changing all the time, and we can become fixated with those thoughts and go, well, that's the only way it should be. Or we can go, I'm going to go with this thought first of all. If life, someone else, or something changes my thought process and says, hey, how about looking at that? Then I'll go and try it out and see how it works. It's like trying on a new outfit. Go and try a new outfit on. How does it look? Actually, I don't like it. I'm going to go back to my old outfit. But be willing to try on new outfits just to see how they feel. This is why we have all these issues with religion around the world. I go, most people don't actually really understand another religion, but they will put it down. I go, how much do you know about that religion? Well, nothing. I go, well, how can you put something down that you've never even tried, you've never even experienced? This is why people always anti. I go, people who are anti have never tried the thing that they're anti against. I was the same with drugs when I was younger. I was so anti-drugs until I tried them and went, actually, you know what? These actually make me feel good. But I realized in context I didn't need them all the time. And I went through my period of trying them and went, okay, I don't need them now. Now I try other things, more like psychedelics. I go, okay, that's a different kind of feeling for me. But now I see the value of it. I don't need to experience it too much, but I know if I experience it, the value that I can get from it. So for me, it's always about finding that balance in life.
It's a balance. And what I think is so interesting is that information from spirit tends to be yes and.
Yes.
So I'm going to give you an example. So back to our discussion about who you think you are and trying to control things. So I'm a manifester by design, and I've been very proud of that, but there was a point in my journey where I was getting in my way, and I was on this trip to Asangate with Alberto Vialdo. So I was going to the Holy Mountain, and I was so frustrated because I'd been working so hard to like build my career and do this and that, and it wasn't coming together. It was like just like it was this constant like trying to make it work. He offered up on the bus on the way to Asangate, who wants to come and sit with me and ask a question. And I stood up and somebody got in front of me. And then the second time I stood up, but somebody got in front of me. I was so pissed. So finally, I'm like crying in my seat. And the third time, people are like, Carrie, would you like to go? I'm gonna hurt now. So I get up there and I tell him everything that's going on. And he's like, you know what? I want you to, I'm just going to suggest to you that you take all of that stuff you think you are about being a manifester that you're so proud of, and you put that in a little treasure box. And you can always have it back, but just put it in there for now, and then just go ask the Holy Mountain who you are.
Yeah.
And at the end of that, what I realized, at the end of that whole week in Asangate, I realized, yes, I'm a manifester by design, but not for me. It's not about me. I am like a body that has a capability that spirit uses, that spirit moves through to accomplish things in the world on behalf of all.
Yeah.
Not just on my behalf. Like, it works for me, but the more important thing is that it works for my soul, so that my soul can accomplish the work in the world that needs to get done. So it's like a yes and. Yes, you're a manifester, and the little ego is not something for you to be proud of. It's really not yours to control. You just are, and you need to get out of the way of it. And ever since that's when the Soul Nectar show dropped into my lap. Like, Spirit's like, okay, Soul Nectar show, this is your purpose. And this was a year ago, actually.
Oh, wow. I mean, and that's beautifully said as well, and it's these labels, these titles, that who we think we are as well, right? It's like, well, I'm this intuitive, so I know lots of things. I go, no, I'm gonna let go of that. I still don't know everything. I want to learn more, of course, but I realize actually I know very little. And it's something which I learned in my physical training, doing sports rehab, is that when you start learning about the body and the different systems in the body, you realize there's so much information to know. Now, you can spend all the time trying to learn all the information, but what you find out as you go more and more into the information and learning it is, there's even more information to learn. I go, I'm never going to learn all this information. So I go, what do I need to learn and understand and know that's going to help me do the job that I'm going to do now? And then if I change what I do and how I work, then give me the information that I need to learn at that time. That's why I say, going back to the whole chakra thing, I didn't need to know chakras in depth. I just needed to know the understanding of what each one did and what their purpose was, so that when I was explaining it to someone, they understood what it meant to them. And so I think that's really important, is that we have this information. We can tap into so much information if we need to, but what information do I need right now that's going to help me to help other people achieve their goal, or help my soul to fulfill its purpose in this lifetime?
Well, and I love this idea of like, who knows that information? Who's the one that really knows that? Do we know? I don't know.
No.
It came into me, like it came through me, and then I knew it. So
Exactly.
it's like this idea. I've been doing some studying with Jose Stevens at the Power Path, and he shared with us, he studied with the monks in Tibet for a while, the Buddhist monks. And he said that, they actually, there was a big shamanic history there. And he said that the monks would say, listen, you can reach enlightenment very quickly by doing a very simple, short meditation several times throughout the day. You don't have to sit for hours and hours and hours, which I like, because, I want it to be quick. So,
of course. We all do, right?
Yeah. So they said, you want to become the context. You want to become the bowl. So you want to put your focus on being the bowl through that is now receiving universal wisdom into the bowl. That is your mind, right? That is your being. And if you can maintain awareness of being the bowl, and then having the universal wisdom fill the bowl, if you can maintain awareness of that for like 60 seconds at a time, like, you'll reach enlightenment. So I've been doing it, actually. And it is kind of interesting, because it definitely puts you in the place of being the larger context. You're not creating the wisdom, it's pouring in through you.
Yeah. Oh, as actually, as I said, life doesn't happen to you, it happens through you.
Through you.
Yeah, because you're just that portal for your soul to experience life through, right? It's just you're allowing that to happen to you. It's why it's always interesting, when you're coaching people, how much, and this is most therapies, how much it's stuck in the past. Going, but you're forgetting the future also influences now also. How
Yeah.
much do you spend time looking at the future to change your life? I go, well, no, I'm looking at the past and trying to break all my habits. I'm going, yeah, but your future influences as much your now as your past did. They both contribute to that same bowl. They're both coming from different taps, but into the same bowl. So I go, why do you not give your future more time and effort as well, and give your past less time? So you've got all these different therapies, and it's another thing this is changing now, is that we had all these therapies that came up with like past lives and past stuff when your childbirth and all this kind of trauma we're going to get rid of. But how do I get rid of the trauma that I'm going to go through in the future? But you haven't had that yet. Well, actually, you have. That's why you're having the now, because you needed both experiences to happen this now. So a lot of stuff that I try and do with people now, let's go into the future and see what kind of things could happen, and let's take them out of your equation now, so that when you get into that next part of your life, you go, things seem easy. I can deal with this problem because I kind of knew it was coming up in my life. And that for me is a big kind of mind shift, because people go, it's not about the past, it's about the past and the future.
That's amazing. The work that I really like the twist on that. I'm going to noodle on that one now. What I have done is I didn't exactly learn the advanced skills at the Four Winds for this about destiny retrieval. We did a little bit of work with it, but not a lot. There's like actually a whole advanced class on it. But what I have done on my own is kind of explore navigating the destiny lines in a meditation, because when you go up and close your eyes, you can actually see the energetic lines of all the destiny that you potentially could have at this moment in time, because it's all always changing, right? So at
Sure.
this moment in time, and then you can actually light up the highest destiny. You can light up that line and then follow it down. And so I followed it down to the end, to my wise old woman at the end, and asked her for wisdom, like, what do I do right now? Like, what is the best thing for me to do right now? So I've done that, and that's pretty cool. But I like this idea of asking her, okay, what could I heal in myself right now that will save me a whole lot of trouble in the future?
Exactly. So we go to those future parts of ourselves and go, hey, I need your help. I'm struggling right now. What did you do to achieve what you're achieving in the future? And it's like, it's just because we've been trained in certain ways that we don't think that way. That's all it is. So the more that we can open people up going, yes, the past, good, let go of some of that stuff, but how about thinking about the future as well? And let's do some work here. And actually the balance between the two is we actually find what's going on in our head now will start changing more, because we're not just focusing on 50% of it. Now we're focusing on 100% of it. That's a big shift that most of my clients get, because they go, we're not really looking at the past stuff anymore. We're going, tell me about where you want to go. What do you want to do? Now, let's look at the energy of that. Okay, that feels right. That's going to be a bit uncomfortable because this could happen, blah, blah. And it normally plays out that way. Well, let's start making the shifts now in you, so that when it comes up, if you want to follow that path, you know how to go through it, because you was almost expecting it to happen anyway.
I'm thinking to myself right now, I'm remembering coming back from the future. At this moment, I had a meditation, and when I came out of it, I had pulled up some energy from the earth doing fire breath.
Mm-hmm.
And that nugget of information from the earth had reminded me about my possible future, where none of this was here. I mean, Earth's like, hey, you came back from the future to try again, so make it so.
Yeah.
And it was like such a powerful remembrance. It really kind of freaked me out. And I think I've since been able to shift my destiny line out of that old destiny line. Like, I am now on the new destiny line of the new earth, because I can feel the tide of it. And, there's been some other key shifts that happened that let me know that, I'm on the better one, the better line now.
Yeah, but
But,
here's a thought. How much do you want to hold on to that, or how much do you want to let go of that thought and go, actually, let me see where it takes me anyway?
well, what's interesting is it hadn't occurred to me until I had completely forgotten about it until you just said that. And now I'm going, wow, what do I do with that? Because I think we should just erase that whole destiny line for that other potential
Well, again,
and
you
move
know, it's
forward
going
in
back
this
to,
direction, you know?
yeah, but it's going back to what you're saying is, if life is happening through us, how much are we actually in control of it? How much is life just going, well, you're going to be going left, regardless if you keep going, I'm focusing on right, I'm focusing on right, okay, I'm going left, I'm going left. It's how much are we actually in control of this thing called life, and how much has life already taken us on the path that we're meant to be going on? So for me, that's where that kind of gets a little bit interesting.
The manifester in me says you wouldn't have created a manifester if there wasn't conscious choice. Like, I think that there are choice points. I think that there are things that we're meant to go through. Like, for example, just in one lifetime, you know, things we're meant to experience or learn, and you can't really avoid those things. They'll just be like right here in your face. Because I've hopped all over them and tried to avoid them, and you know, time jumped over them and all kinds of stuff, and it works. But then it will come back. Until you learn the lesson, really, you're not going to be done with it. But I do think that you have conscious choice. I think you have conscious choice in how you're going to respond to things. And I think we are
Yes.
co-creators. We get to choose what we create. And that's what we're actually here to do, is learn how to create.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think you get to choose, you know, it's like you get to choose what foods you eat. You
Mm-hmm.
get to choose whether you want to exercise, whether you want to go to bed, whether you want to hang out with friends or you be on your own. But there's a certain, you know, I always like to use the sat nav kind of analogy. Is the route has been chosen for you. It's where am I going to stop along the journey, and what attractions am I going to visit as I go on my journey to wherever I'm heading towards. For me, that's a part that you're in control of.
Yes, that resonates. So interesting. This reminder is coming up right now, isn't it?
Yeah.
I
You know, for me,
actually, I had a past life that I've been working on a lot in this lifetime, and it's one where I used to be a Cherokee medicine man on the Trail of Tears, and I wanted to save my people, you know. I wanted to save them. I wanted to prevent the outcome. And I was beating myself up internally because I felt like I had made a bad choice in negotiation, or I had advised my people incorrectly towards peace because I was the peace chief. I
right,
felt like I had made a mistake. And I was watching my people suffer and feeling like incredible guilt for advising them in this way that now led to this outcome. And I ended up taking my own life because I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle watching everybody suffer.
right.
So in this life, I've dealt a lot with those issues, and I showed right up. You know, my favorite cartoon as a kid was Underdog. You know, with the little bulldog, and he takes this and he like rips. He's his little bulldog, and he rips his cape off whenever anybody's, you know, underdog is being somebody's being taken advantage of, and he's like, no need to fear, underdog is here, you know. He like flies off
I love
with
it.
his little cape. And I've kind of been that way, you know, my whole life, like really enjoying the idea of the underdog,
Sure.
you know. And here I am again, like I'm getting ready to go out and do my big campaign, and gonna help people, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And his spirit already told me years ago, and I tucked it away, like, yeah. It was kind of like, you know, remember this last experience, your job was to be the shepherd. I don't want to be the shepherd. I want to like chart the new route, you know, like, why do I have to be the shepherd of something I don't like? Like, why can't I redirect the outcome using my capabilities as a manifester so that we don't have to go down that road? So we go down a different road. I don't want to just stand by and watch it happen. I want to like change the outcome.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it's how much are you trying to control that, and how much are you just allowing that just to flow properly?
I do think that there is potential to change the outcome now. You know, I've heard it from so many people that we're shifting the planet into a mature soul planet. So from a mature soul planet, we're going to have a much better outcome than back in, you know, the Trail of Tears time.
Yeah, I
It's
agree.
not the same experience. It's a different experience.
I think the choices that we're making now or we're going to be making are wiser. So they're not, or actually, let me put this another way. It's almost like we're picking from a bunch of choices where there are now fewer. So we've got less chances of making the mistake. So we're going to pick, there's more chance we'll pick the right one than the wrong one. You know, there's always that free will of, you can pick a certain amount of options, which will take you ultimately back to where you're meant to be going. One may be amazing, next one may be okay, next one may be really uncomfortable. So it's just going, which one feels right to me that I want to take? All will lead me to where I'm going to go, but which one do I want to follow? Now, do I want to go and have an experience that is going to be uncomfortable, but actually I'm going to learn a lot from that? Or do I want a nice, easy ride for the next 6 months and just take that nice, easy route? I think that's where, or that's how it feels to me in terms of our choices and how we use them.
Well, I like the earth, and I think she's beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, and I want her to stick around. So,
Well, she's not going anywhere. We'll be gone way before she is.
yeah, she's like, get off my back, please. You know, because it's about where it's going. If we don't get our act together, she loves us to a point.
Yeah, it's not that she loves you as much as you're loving yourself.
Hmm.
So, you know, when people go, you know, we've got to save the planet, I go, no, she's trying to show you, you've got to save yourselves.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, she is.
She's going, look, you're damaging your physical health. You keep thinking you're damaging me. No, actually damaging your own physical. I'm just reflecting that back to you so you can see it. You go, what? We'll save you. We'll save you. I go, you can do whatever you want to save me, but unless you're changing yourself, and this is what we see over time, is that nothing's really changing because we're not realizing it's not that external that we want to change. It's the internal we want to change. The us, not her.
And we can, because we are created of the elements of the earth. So we are that. We are water, we are fire, we are
Yeah.
rock, we are that. We are mineral, we are everything that the earth is. So as we change our own resonance, we raise the resonance of the earth. And you can see it's working because I don't actually know like the website that you can go check it, but there is an organization that's been tracking the resonance of the earth. And
Yes.
it's gone up like 10 degrees or something, like it's
It's
10
gone up
levels.
way more. You know, if you look at the Schumann resonance, which is the
That.
frequency of the universe. So basically, you know, that was for many years, I think was around about, I want to say around about 9.8. And then it shot up a few years ago to around about 12, 15. And this year alone, I think it may even gone over 100 now. Literally, it's
Oh,
just gone to a whole another level this year. You know, this is all part of the age of Aquarius and how we're shifting in terms of consciousness, is that whole vibration is changing. It's, you know, especially this year, if we look at, you know, if we think, you know, I use numerology. So look, we're in year one of a 9-year cycle. This year, we're seeing a lot happen around the world in terms of flooding, fires, those kind of things. Is that purging, getting rid of the old, allowing the new to come through? That's what year one's about, is we're planting new seeds. We need to get rid of the old stuff and plant some new seeds so that over the next 9 years, and in the next 9 years, we're creating and growing new things for us to live from and through.
oh, I love that. So this is a 1 year overall for the planet.
Yeah, so 1 year in terms of a 9-year cycle, 2017 is the one. So we take 2, 0, 1, and 7, add them all up together, gives you 10, which is a 1. So it's just, and then obviously 2018, we're going to a 2, which is all about relationships. And this is why from next year, we're going to start to see that partnerships and relationships are going to become more important on a global level. And we're already starting to see it this year because we're shifting into that kind of energy next year. So it's always interesting to see this. I've got a good friend of mine who he pretty much predicts this stuff pretty much every year in terms, and he uses the 5 elements from the Chinese medicine to use and see how the energy is going to change. And he's always spot on. And I use a similar kind of way of doing it, but use the numerology and the natural energy and how that's reflected. Again, we go through that in terms of our groups, in terms of our family. We go back to the chakras. We go through those different stages also as we evolve as well. So it's always interesting to watch companies. I'm working with a company that's growing, how they go through the different stages of the chakra. And it's always interesting when they get to the solar plexus, which is when all the egos come up, that a lot of them will crumble because there's always that internal conflict happening they can't deal with. If they could get that next level, which is the heart, and open up, all of a sudden they could flourish. You see this in big companies happen a lot. They go through these periods where the ego's out, conflict, but they may survive, they may crumble, and all of a sudden something new comes in, opens up the heart, and boom, off they go. Apple's it's probably one of the perfect examples of that with Steve Jobs.
So what you're
He took it.
saying is that the first year of your business, you're in the root chakra?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's when you full on start the business. Is that right?
That's when you're planting the seed. You're trying to put into the ground the things that
Like
you
you're
want
fully
to nourish.
committed. You're fully invested in it.
Well, no, I mean, a lot of people were failing that first year because they're realizing I'm putting apples into the ground. I thought I was meant to be growing pears. So it's also about, that's why most new businesses fail in the first year, because they're trying to grow something that they haven't got the seeds for. So that's why it's always interesting to watch that first year. So that first year is such an important year for a lot of people, because you've got to plant the right seeds that can grow. Otherwise, business will just fall over because you've got the wrong seeds in.
Wow. I think I'm in the will center year.
Okay.
I think I'm going to a close and I'm opening to the heart year.
Right. Okay.
Which makes perfect sense. And did you know that my house faces south? And apparently for next year, the year of the dog, the south facing south is all about love.
Which is the heart chakra, right?
And learning, study, and
yep.
fame. Like, I was like, that is freaking amazing. Like how it all, every time I do this stuff, it's like, what? Because that is what's happening in my business. It's so amazing.
Yeah, so it's always interesting.
It blows my mind.
Yeah, and it's always consistent. I would say there are times and people and circumstances where it won't follow that pattern. But as a whole, you generally see people will go through those different stages. Some people may go through their stages a lot quicker. So they may go for their first year and actually go through year 2 and 3 straight away. So it really depends. But as a rule, you can generally see those patterns happen in relationships also. Another big one. We see it in relationships a lot. In that first year, the relationship's either going to work or not. If you haven't planted the right seeds, then that relationship won't flourish, right? So it's exactly the same principle. So that's a system that I use. It works for me, and we can find it really effective. Again, ultimately, it comes back to, if you believe in any system and you follow it, it will start working for you. If you don't believe in the system, it probably won't work for you as well as it could do. So for me, it's find a system that you like and use it, like you are with the 4 winds. You follow it and you use it exactly like that. I use numerology, use the 4 winds. It works for you, it works for me, because we believe in the system enough, so we just keep following that path.
Oh, I integrate all the systems because I think they're so amazing. Yeah. Vedic astrology and, numerology and the stuff you're talking about, the chakras. I mean, oh my goodness. You can see how the intricate design, like it all lines up. It actually is just so perfect. And this is how I, with my mom, with what happened to her with losing my dad, I just tell her, she's like, well, how can you believe in God? Because that's her thing right now. How can you believe in God? Because why would God take such a wonderful person like your dad off the earth and then leave these scoundrels like Donald Trump? That's what my mom says to me. And I'm like, well, Mom, maybe it just Dad's onto his next lesson plan. Like he just, he needs a new body so he can do the next task that he has that's even bigger and bolder. And he can't do it from this body. Like he needs a lot of energy and a lot of momentum to do what he's got to do next. And he needs a new body that has ascended vibrations, that has the new downloads. He needs that. He can't do it from a 71-year-old body. And exactly. She just, I'm like, she said, well, how do you know that God exists? I said, I look around me. I look around. Look at all the flowers. Look at the sun comes up every day. Look at our bodies. It is an intricate design. Something created this with conscious decision. It chose to create all of this, and we are that. There's no denying that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, that's the thing is, and what fascinates me is because I create content around health and well-being, is I'm always studying and learning what's new and what's coming out through science. And it fascinates me how the breakthroughs, especially in the last probably 2 to 3 years, the breakthroughs in terms of the human body have been huge. For instance, they just found out this year that the brain actually has its own lymphatic system, which they didn't know for at all. And then this year they realized that actually we've got lymphs in our, because they wonder how does the brain get rid of all of the rubbish? Well, actually, it's got its own lymphatic system that comes back out through the main lymphatic system. We go, okay, so we're learning this stuff, and we're realizing is things are shifting all the time. As our consciousness changes, our awareness about the human body, about the world, about life, about the universe is constantly changing. And that's what we have to realize is what we think we know is only what we know right now. Because in 12 months' time, we're going to have a whole new set of awareness. We can either hold on to this old set and go, well, this is how I'm meant to live my life. We go, I live my life based on this set right now, but I know that it's going to change because things change. That's part of life. So I should change my awareness as the surroundings around me change also, because I realize that I'm changing as a person.
Wow. And we're
And for
back
me,
where,
that's
yeah, we're
yeah,
back where we
it's just
started with this whole idea of control. Like you're not the one figuring it out. You're just
exactly.
observing and receiving this experience that's something way beyond us or that is us at a higher level is communicating to us.
You have to remember, we know that much information, but there is so much information. Now, if we brought everybody together, then we've got all the collective information, but then there's still even more information than that. So
But even
where
that
does it end?
information is just what we decided what was true, that we handed down to our kids.
Exactly.
And then it's not even
So,
true anymore.
well, exactly. So that's why for me, it's about doing rather than saying. It's what one of the people that I follow, a guy called Gary Vaynerchuk. He says, "See, watch what I do, not what I say." That's the best way. See what's actually happening in terms of the actions in the world around you and what people are doing. Then you know what's changing. If someone says, I'm going to be famous next year, I go, okay, that means nothing until you're actually famous, right?
Mm-hmm.
So watch what people are doing in their lives, and especially if you want to change your life, you go, what are the people around you doing in their lives? Are they all just miserable and unhappy in their lives and just stuck in a 9 to 5 job, not happy in a dull relationship? Okay, well, guess what awareness you're going into, what you're creating. So it's about that environment that you're putting yourself into is just showing you where your energy is right now. So if you want to evolve more, then you've got to be conscious of the environment that you're putting in, the people that you're surrounding yourself with, not just physically, but also now because of technology online. Are you just watching old horror movies and films, thrillers, and that kind of stuff? Well, that's a reflection of you and what you're trying to create in your life. If you're trying to create something amazing and magic, then you may want to change the environment of what you're watching online, the people that you're following, the books that you're reading. All these different things contribute to the life that you're creating and the awareness of that as you go forward.
You got to be willing to have don't know mind. And
Yeah.
what's been screaming at me the whole time you've been talking is Greg Braden's show, The Missing Links. And he
Yes.
talks about how most of what our society thinks is true right now, or in the way that we function, is based on one man and his theory, which he wasn't even sure of, but everyone latched onto, which is Darwin. And
Yeah.
none of that is true. Darwin had a
Exactly.
really limited perspective, and he only looked at, he even said himself, this is probably not true. And everybody started basing scientific principles and, societal principles based on these teachings. Well, that's the old paradigm. That is the paradigm. And if you're in that paradigm, you're probably really suffering right now if you're believing that paradigm, because the new paradigm's already started and it has nothing to do with that.
Yeah. It was the starting point. We needed a thought or a group of thoughts that started the conversation. And most people go, okay, I'm just going to use that thought and that's going to be my thought now. We can go, I like that thought, but how can I make it better? That's how my mind works. How can I improve on, okay, so I'm thinking about this in this way, but how can I make that better? That's where science I think is changing slowly, with people like Greg and that who are showing the stuff which is scientific. They're saying no, but look at this information also, because it's very dogmatic. It's going, no, it can only be this way, and go, no, it can be both ways. That's
Yes,
it's going back
and
to what I was saying about the love and fear. Exactly. Yeah. you can have both. It's which one do you want? Both are going to play out anyway. That's the beauty of life. Everything's going to play out. Every possibility will play out. But which one do you want to see? Which one do you want to experience the most? But that's the one you give your attention to. But remember, don't be so stuck in that and rigid with it. Go with the flow of it, because it may take you over here and you go, oh wow, this is beautiful. I would never seen those trees over there if I hadn't gone off in this direction. That's why sometimes it's good just not to set a destination, just go for a drive and just see where kind of life takes you.
Wow. Okay, people, take a deep breath to integrate all that.
Oh, yeah.
Whew. Let all that sink into your cells. Thank you. So now, how can people connect with you? I know that you're a pretty straightforward guy. So what do you have offers, or do you have like just your website? I mean, how do you want to engage with people?
Yeah, obviously I have my website, deangriffiths.co.uk. I do coaching, I do consultations. So for people who just want a better understanding of what they're going through, there's something very powerful in a conversation, is giving people a different perspective on what they're going through. So that's a lot of what I do with people, is changing their perspective and going, how about if you saw that bad experience like this, how would you deal with it? Would I do it very different? Okay, that's a lot of the work that I do. And then for those who want to go deep, I do the coaching work, which is about 3 months and longer, normally around about a year, where we can go deeper and we can break those old patterns and get you thinking differently about what you're trying to create. Or you can just follow me on social media. So I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It's the same handle. It's Soul Whisperer 71 on all 3 platforms. So it's, for me, I just like engaging people. If people just have a question, just go to my website and just contact me, and I'm always happy to help. So it's kind of like, I always say, look, how far down the rabbit hole do you want to go? We can stop at the surface, or we can go really deep and have some great fun.
I say that same thing to people. I totally understand you. Oh, it's awesome. Okay, I like to go all the way down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, absolutely. Every
I like
time,
to go to
please.
the rabbit hole, to the wormhole, to the around the galaxy. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for that wonderful chat. And I thank you everybody for tuning in. And, I always like to give you kisses. So here they come. Here comes Los Estrellas, the stars and the kisses. Here they come. And we'll see you next week on Soul Nectar.